This is Michelle Hughes from Ageless and Timeless. Today's podcast is brought to you by Water and Wellness. Recently, I had the opportunity to visit Water and Wellness at their offices, and I can tell you that as far as you and I are concerned and our health is concerned, this is one of the most important places that you can go to find water that is purified and products that will help your longevity and your overall health. Visit waterandwellness.com to learn how you can take control of your drinking water and learn about those natural additives to optimize your health and longevity. Contact Stacy at 877-296-6880. Use the Ageless code and you'll get a 20% discount on all your products. Hello again. This is Michelle Hughes at Ageless and Timeless. Today, I have two guests who are serial entrepreneurs. And as you well know from our previous podcasts, we're very inclined to feature entrepreneurs who have been successful in their respective disciplines. The first guest is William Azzalino, and William lives in Newport Beach, and he is currently the chairman or CEO of a company called Sun IQ. And that company we're going to talk about a little bit later is in the CBD space. However, William is I would call him a multidisciplinary executive, and also a triathlete, and very successful one. I think he ranked 32nd in the world. Is that correct, William?
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to have a little bit of fun and get there.
Yeah, and you say that very humbly, but you have trained very, very hard and have accomplished so much for being at that ranking. We all know that just doesn't happen by accident. So our second guest just joined us, so I just want to say who that is. His name is Joel Rosenberg. The reason I'm bringing the two of them together is because Joel is the president of Sun IQ, and he and William are therefore partners, and however, they come from very different backgrounds, and each of them have something to share with us today and something very valuable to give in the world. So is it okay, Joel, if I lead off with William?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so Joel, you're now on the screen. So we're doing a three-way with the two of you, the two handsome men that I'm very gracefully accepting as my guest today. So William, you have grown up in the architectural world, and I'm curious to know why did you leave architecture, which is such an amazing career track record there? And I think we're going to flash on the screen a little bit of some of your work, if Tony can do that. So we'll see a little bit of your background. But so while he's doing that, can you tell us why would you leave architecture full time when you had such a stellar career in that profession?
Well, in part because as an Ironman, I had some training accidents as well, broke a few ribs and a collarbone, was looking for a healthy alternative to dealing with that. Found that CBD actually worked extremely well, and that got me involved and interested in the marketplace and what was going on. It was a fast developing marketplace. I'm still obviously involved in architecture and doing that on a continuing basis, but I've shifted my focus to that part of the marketplace because I think that there's a lot of tremendous good that CBD and hemp-based products can do for the world, both in building products, which is one of my other areas of interest for it, as well as for topically applied applications within the marketplace currently.
Oh my goodness! Well, the path to Sun IQ, to the current company and challenge, it has also been marked with other accomplishments and companies and industries. Can you talk about those for a moment?
Yeah, I started my career as an architect when I was about 14 years old. Built a national award-winning firm, won a national design award, built the largest hospitality design firm in the world with partners, and have led a successful career in that, and done developing as well. So I've built projects for my own account to about 200,000 square feet in retail, and I'm currently active in both those arenas. Um, I've worked at it because it's about persistence in most businesses. Most businesses, people think they're going to get in and overnight have an overnight success. The reality is most businesses fail within the first 3 years because people don't understand persistence. You can't be an Ironman unless you're persistent, but the reality is anybody who's out there in the audience can be an Ironman. They just have to make the decision to take one step and follow that with the next step to get to the end of the finish line. And business is no different. There's never an easy road. There are always movements forward and movements backwards. Yes, some people get extremely lucky and hit a home run the first time they step up to the plate. But the reality is that most people hit a lot of singles and eventually work their way up to a few doubles, and you just keep hitting them until you keep yourself in the game fully. So
I love that metaphor. But you also are passionate about the environment, and you have stopped on the path here to create businesses in oil and gas, in plastics. Why don't you take a moment and talk about
yeah,
those ventures?
Since I started my career in architecture, I've been focused on green energy, green applications, and in the development of technologies that are appropriate to that. The first part of your career you spend trying to build yourself a career, and hopefully at some point in your career you get to give back a bit. I've been focused on technologies which I believe will allow us to solve in green manners the plastic problem that's before us right now. We're bringing that technology to market with a technology that is low energy, heat free, produces no greenhouse gases, uses no chemicals, and uses no added heat. And is a high efficiency process. We are in the final stages of testing that right now, and have been written up in a few magazines on that. And that's a contribution that we can make to the world, including working with ocean cleanup projects.
And what is the name of that company, William?
That's called Reclaimed Eco Energy.
Reclaimed Eco Energy. And do you have a website for that, or is there a way we can?
The website is reclaimedecoenergy.com.
Okay, that's it. Okay, very simple. So share with us your secrets about how you stay so young and vital.
I think there's two plans in the world that you get to accept. One is the pay me now plan, and one is the pay me later plan. Most people choose the pay me later plan because it's the easier plan to seemingly go with, and that just means that you end up paying at the back end of your deal with lots of drugs, medical, and a lot of time in hospitals generally, and with lots of health problems. I chose the other route, which is kind of the pay me now plan, which means that you have to spend the time working out, be it an hour a day, or cross training or swimming or biking. Or I like triathlons only because of the fact it gets you to bike and run and swim, none of which you would necessarily do on a regular basis otherwise. And if you've paid your money for your next event, you've got a reason why you have to do it. You've invested some money, so you want to go do it. So I've done that in combination with a pretty extensive vitamin program that I've worked on for years and researched. And I think that has made a big difference in my life. And that's kind of where I come from.
So would you take a second or moment and share with us some of the supplements that you think are vital to a good healthcare regimen?
Sure. I use A, B, C, D, E. That's the easy
The
part.
alphabet. Okay. So all the antioxidants.
Yeah. Alpha lipoic acid, acetyl L-carnitine, phosphatidylserine, CoQ10, selenium, turmeric,
Wow.
and DHEA, and CoQ10.
Yeah, you said CoQ10, and I wanted to mention that I don't know if you know this, but as you grow a little bit older, even though we're all ageless and timeless, that the better form of CoQ10 to take is ubiquinol because it's more absorbable. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I think we had once
Yeah,
chatted.
you told me a little bit about that before. So.
Right. But so how many supplements a day do you have to take?
I take a handful. I take about 14 of them in the course of
Oh,
it.
okay. And you
I don't
have
really, I don't, I, you know, you're supposed to schedule them out nicely, but I just sort of quaff them all at one time in the morning and make my way through the day.
right, exactly, exactly. Well, and I'm sure your diet is a good one as well, and we'll get in.
I eat healthy, but I cheat like everybody else. But that's the benefit of doing workouts. You know, if you've ridden 15 miles on a bike in an hour, you've consumed a bunch of calories, and you can justify that Reese's Pieces thin. You know.
Well, and you do need some carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates too, right? When you're burning that much
Yep,
energy, so you need that energy. So if there's a justification for having a pasta.
that's right.
So let me segue to Joel for a moment because I know he's been patiently sitting here waiting. And Joel is coming today from his home in Baltimore, and so Joel, you're to me one of the most. You and William both are two fascinating men. Joel, you have built 5 companies and each one of them had been successful. You were named Entrepreneur of the Year by Ernst and Young, and I guess in the Baltimore, Washington D.C. area. Am I correct?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, and what interests me, and I think would interest our viewers, is the multidisciplinary or multi background of your companies. You started, I think, in apparel, then you went to candy, then you went both in retail, of course, but different products, and then you went into helped to found the company called Redbox, which was, I think, sold to McDonald's. Is that correct?
Yes, my company was called Show to Go, and
Show to go,
yeah, it was sold to McDonald's,
right?
and they rebranded it to
To
Redbox.
Redbox. Okay, but you were the original concept of Redbox, and then you went into the medical and lab diagnostic business. Lab Connect was the name of that most recent company. So, okay, I remember when I was growing up in the business world that I followed a man named Ernest Arbuckle because I always read about, different types of leaders, and he was one that was very well known in business in San Francisco, particularly. He had come from I think it was General Motors to Wells Fargo to Stanford. So he went from automotive to banking, finance, and then into education, and was successful in all of these companies. I was fascinated by that concept, and I think you actually epitomize a very similar track record. Could you talk for a moment about how you have been able to lead and be successful in companies where you didn't really know the business background part of it or the technology part, but yet you could lead those companies to success? So what's your secret?
Uh, I have no secret. I think Bill said it really well. A lot of it is persistence. I was fortunate to grow up in a family of entrepreneurs, and my grandfather had a small chain of small department stores. I grew up in that environment. When I went to college, I opened a retail clothing store when I was a sophomore in college, and then by the time I was a senior, I had 2 clothing stores, and after college, I opened 3 more in the Maryland area, and they were stores. And segue over to the confectionery business was also a retail concept. So there wasn't that much of a difference, except it was a different product. So you learn the product, and you experiment, and you test, and you start out. You open a few company stores, and then we started to franchise them. So we had them all over the U.S., and we had them in 11 countries overseas. But it was just another product. It was retail. The DVD rental business, my partner saw that concept in Israel. Israelis developed that technology. We got the rights to bring that technology to the United States. We got a contract with Albertsons grocery stores to put them in 3,500 grocery stores, and also into Barnes and Noble's college campus bookstores, 600 of those. And again, it was working in a retail environment. It was a different product, so we learned that product. But it was still retail, and so we were able to open a lot of stores. And then McDonald's wanted to come into this space, and they purchased our company, and they continued to roll them out. So changed the name to Redbox, and they've rolled those out. Probably have 40,000 of those units in countries. As the biopharmaceutical company that I started, and with that one, I really just wanted to open a new company and in a new area, and I came up with a concept that had 5 or 6 of what I considered to be really critical and important pieces to. I wanted to create an ideal business, and so I had this vision, and I developed a concept and a business plan. I didn't know if it was going to be successful or not. I hired a consultant to study my business plan, and he came back and he said, first of all, it's a great idea. If it was somebody from the inside of the industry, they probably wouldn't have come up with this concept. You coming to it with fresh eyes from the outside. And the second thing is instead of paying me fees, I'd rather work with you in the company. So I hired him. He was my first hire, and he was an industry expert. So he had the expertise that I did. But then again, I learned the product, and it was about creating a concept and a vision, and then guiding the company in that direction. And a lot of it is what Bill had said earlier. It's persistence. It's when obstacles come out, there are opportunities to grow. Mistakes are sometimes there are opportunities to learn and get better. And I think you learn sometimes more from your mistakes than you do from your successes. So luckily we had enough successes at the company.
And I'm very happy that you have just said that, because that was my burning question to both of you, is when you have faced obstacles in your careers, in your businesses, what has been your guiding light, your way to get beyond the obstacle and to the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, to success? So, William, why don't you start and tell us what that has been in your career?
I think I probably summarized it previously. I believe that you have to be an optimist. You have to believe that you can succeed, and you have to maintain that attitude that you will get to the finish line. It's some people say, I'm going to try this. It's not a try. It's I'm going to get to the finish line. And that's the only way you finish an Ironman, because as an example, every 3 hours, your body chemistry changes. You want to stop for 10 minutes, no matter what. And that's just like business. It's just, you have to decide you're going to get to the finish, and you will persist through anything that gets in your way.
So tenacity is what you're saying, if you wanted to put it in one word.
Yep.
And Joel?
Because you
I don't know. I think you froze there for a moment, Joel. Can you hear us? There you are.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, we lost you. We're going to go back to William and let you come back on, Joel. He just didn't want to answer that question, William.
Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you. Okay, so did you get the question that I asked? Well, we can hear you, but we can't.
Repeat the question, please.
Okay. The question is, when you faced an obstacle in your career, how did you get beyond the challenge and get to the light at the end of the tunnel of success?
I think in every business that I've started and built, there's always a time where it comes where, especially in the early stages, where you're doing most of the jobs wearing all kinds of hats, and it gets to be overwhelming. And there's a period where you say, is this worth it? And there's so many reasons to stop. But I've learned that you just have to go through that wall, and you have to just keep going. And the persistence, the tenacity are the main ingredients. If you have that attitude and you've experienced going through that wall and succeeding and getting on the other side, then it gives you the confidence to do it over and over and over again. My first business was successful in spite of the many mistakes I made as the first-time business owner. But the tenacity was there, the persistence was there, and you learn from your mistakes. And if you're willing, the other thing is you got to be willing to fail. You got to be willing to take a risk. Mm-hmm. And I've been risk adverse my whole life, and I've learned that taking risks, sometimes things don't always work out, but you learn from every experience that you have, good or bad, successful or not.
Scramble.
And a lot of it is learning from those mistakes, and then you do better, and you do it better the next time. Mm-hmm. And that's the attitude is. It's not a failure. It's just, it's just you have to do it better next time, or do it differently next time. Mm-hmm. So you learn from everything that you do, and but again, you got to be willing to stay with.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we lost you again. So, William, can you hear us?
Yep, I hear you just fine.
Okay, so we'll let you take over. So, William, when you've been disappointed in an outcome or a person, let's just take a person for the moment. How do you deal with the management challenge of turning that situation around to make the troubled person in this case become your best ally?
Generally, what you try to do is you try to assume that they didn't necessarily have the worst of intentions to begin with. Most people are generally pretty good at heart and generally kind of want to do good if you give them the opportunity to. If you don't allow them that opportunity, they won't rise to your expectations. And if you expect them to be better than be their best selves, you try to get them there. Mm-hmm. It doesn't always work, but that's what you try. And you try to find that commonality. And you got to remember the fact that most of us don't really have a large impact in the world. As my father said, you think you're a very important person in the world, stick your hand in a bucket of water and you displace a lot of water. Pull it out, you remember how much impact you really had on that bucket of water.
Uh-huh. So. Except that, when I look at you and Joel and your career paths, you are making a very big impact on the world. And you have already, and you are continuing to do so. And this is particularly opportune moment to talk about the hemp and the CBD business. So let's address that for a moment, because there is an industry that is game changing. And so let's talk about how you got there, what your beliefs are about the opportunities there. I know, William, you've touched on that, but let's delve into that a little deeper. Why is it that you think hemp and CBD is going to change the world, and you're going to be stewards of those changes?
One of the founding products from our country. It was one of the first products that was farmed in North America by our founding fathers. They realized back then the benefits of it. They knew that it was an extremely versatile product. We now know, because we've got a lot more science behind it, that there are more than 50,000 applications, that it can help in things like cement and wallboards, clean the air in the buildings as we use them. We know that your body has a cannabinoid system within it in order to facilitate the application and absorption of your body in CBD, and it's a self-balancing element. It's a natural product, which is great for your body. Everybody's body reacts to it differently, which is what you ideally want in a supplement. You want it to be tuned to you, not to somebody else. So everybody has to figure out what works for them and how it works best for them, and what dosages they need to have. But it's has a wide range of both practical and medical topical. As I said, in my own case, I became interested because I broke a collarbone and I broke a bunch of ribs. It's not the first time it's happened in my life, but I didn't have the benefit of being able to use CBD, and it really helped with my pain management on my ribs, which is probably as close as men get to giving birth. It's a really painful experience. And when you put CBD on, the pain went away. And it was like manna from heaven. So I became extremely interested in it for that reason. And it has lots of other applications. They've just proven that it's got applications everywhere from sleep treatment to, liver treatments to a lot of practical medical applications. As I say, it's individual to individual. And it was a banned product for no reason in the United States other than some very powerful men many years ago got together and banned it because it was competitive to their primary businesses. And those days are past, and now we can take a look at it with a fresh eye and see that it's without THC in it, it doesn't get you high. All it does is help get you well, and that's a pretty strong benefit for anybody to get involved.
Well, wasn't the banning also to do with the fact that it was married in the concept of the imagery of CBD was somehow confused with THC, which does get you high, as you said. Wasn't there some confusion that caused that to be them to be combined, and people thought they were all one? Even today, people still think CBD is THC. You hear that?
Yeah,
So-
people don't know that they're both the same plant,
Yeah.
but one has an active ingredient and one doesn't have an active
Doesn't
ingredient.
have it. Okay.
And so, yeah, cannabis is cannabis, but when you've got THC, you've got active cannabis, and you've got marijuana, what everybody commonly refers to as marijuana. And when you've got a non-THC product, you have hemp, which is everything from ropes to fibers to bed filling to cattle fodder to any number of applications. And there are 50,000 industrial applications for that, aside from the medical applications. So there's just a host of very beneficial applications. And as we get more targeted and more experience in the industry, we're able to start to tailor those elements to meet the marketplace demands.
And Joel, what about you? Why did you get interested in CBD?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Oh, I said, why? I was asking you the same question. Why did you get interested in this space, the CBD space?
Well, I had sold my last company, and I was retired young, and then I got introduced to Bill, and he was putting this company together, and it was I learned a lot about CBD. In the beginning, I used it myself. I play a lot of tennis 3-4 times a week, and you have the normal aches and pains that you get from playing a sport on a regular basis. And I used the product, and again, all the pains went away. All the little aches and pains went away basically within a day or two, and it's been pain-free ever since. So I learned a lot about the product, about CBD, about hemp, and again, I wanted to be involved with something that could really help a lot of people, and the environment, as well as personal health for all kinds of different conditions. And it's a product. Hemp has been around for 10,000 years, and pretty much every culture in the world has used it at one time or another. Our currency was originally printed with hemp. The government used hemp for canvas in the war to make tents and uniforms. So there's so many uses, as Bill had talked about, both for personal health and.
So did you use it both topically and internally when you were dealing with your tennis injuries?
First, I used it topically, and it really worked well. And then I started taking it internally, and it worked even better. So I don't even use it topically now. It just all the aches and pains went away from taking it internally. So yeah, I take it internally now.
So you both are paving the way in pioneering, and obviously this is what entrepreneurialism is all about, is having a vision and trying to execute a plan that will be profitable, but also, in your case, in CBD, giving back to the world. Where does Sun IQ fit into that equation in terms of positioning? Where are you positioned along the spectrum of CBD?
We are we're building a secure supply chain. So we're taking it from the ground up through wholesale products. Our goal is there are really 7 businesses, sectors that are involved in the hemp business, from production in the farming and all the way through to distribution. And so we're working our way through that supply chain. We are working with farmers. We're cultivating. The next stage is to dry it. Then we have labs to process it into full spectrum oils or broad spectrum. We have isolate and distillate. We then are working on establishing manufacturing operations to do white labeling, and then ultimately to do distribution to retailers, with other components within sub markets of that stuff. So it's a growing marketplace. We're in the midst of doing a capital raise for that for ourselves at the moment. As we grow, we've got dryers that are being installed, and as I speak, and farms that have got multiple acres in the ground, and plants are growing and looking healthy. And we're looking forward to harvesting this fall and bringing those crops to market.
And where exactly are you located?
Our operations are focused in Oregon, and we chose Oregon because of the regulatory environment to begin with. It is the most seasoned area. It has the highest quality of hemp in the country. It's well known for that. Colorado has built a reputation for cannabis, the cannabis side of it, the marijuana side of it, whereas Oregon is known for its hemp production because of the market, because of the ocean impact on it, as well as the overall environment. We are looking at primarily organic operations, which we prefer. And so it's an exciting market to be in. And the reason we liked it is because regulations are established. They've been tested and tried. The farmers are experienced. They've actually grown it for more than one week, and they've been through a couple of seasons in many cases. And the operations are commercial, and they've been leading because the farmers are working on it and are experienced, and they've run across the issues in growth. They've developed post-processing procedures. We've developed new drying processes. We've developed other components to that process. And that's why we're focused on Oregon as a first market. And then we will, once we have that established there, then we'll using Joel's expertise, kind of clone it, if you will, across the country and into other markets.
Because Joel's background in retail is what you're saying. Retail distribution. So help us to navigate this very confusing choice of which CBD to use. If you don't mind taking a moment to tell us, how do you know which products have efficacy? It's so confusing to go in a store today and try to pick a CBD oil, or even going online when there are so many available and you don't know which ones are the ones that are going to work. How do you both select?
Joel.
Well, one of the things that I look for in the product is that product has to be organically grown. That way, you know that there's not going to be any pesticides. The hemp plant has the ability to pull out of the soil anything that's in it. It's not organic and has used pesticides and other the potency of the CBD in the plant. So the first thing you look for is to make sure that the product is manufactured with from organic soil, and that's number one. Then it's good you can look, and there's reputable companies that have vertical operations. So they grow it organically, they process it, and it's all done internally and totally integrated so that the product at the other end comes out, and it's a high concentration of CBD, which is also important to look for. And I mean, you can do searches, and you can learn about the companies that really have been doing it for a while and do it with good manufacturing processes, grow it organically, so you know that you have a good product. Another thing to look for is many companies have a third-party laboratory verification that they actually put on the label of the product. The most important thing about choosing a product is to read the labels, and to read that it's organic, and to read that it has a third-party laboratory verification. To read that it has a high concentration of CBD in the product. So it takes a little bit of education. There's a lot of product out there that is not high quality. I think that there's going to be standards coming from the FDA that's going to weed out some of the bad actors in the space. But in the meantime, you have to do a little research to learn which products are the best ones. But
right now, it's like the wild, wild west because there is no regulation. But is there a minimum milligram? You said a high concentration of the CBD, and I assume you meant pure CBD, not the isolate, or does it matter? And what is the dosage that you look for that would be suitable, attractive to you to purchase?
Well, I think dosaging is an area that I can't really speak to because everybody's different.
That's true.
You have to kind of test it out with yourself with low dosage, and then if you feel like you need more, then you take either more or take it more often. But dosage is something that you can actually get from the manufacturer. They can make suggestions, but they won't dictate or say exactly how much each person should take, because everybody is different.
I misstated that, Joel. I said dosage. I meant to say strength because we talked about the milligrams that you look for when you're looking at how much CBD is in the product. So I'm sorry, I took you down the wrong path there, but could you talk about what you think about the minimum that you would ever look for and not the dosage, but the strength?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, my person my age should take about 50 milligrams a day CBD. That's what I take. Now, somebody my age might take more or less, but for me, that's what I take is 50 milligrams.
And what about you, William?
The amounts that I take just depend on what I'm trying to address. And I think that, Joel's covered pretty much many of the ways that we sort them out. It's as in any other product, it's a question of reliability of the supplier, and you need to determine who those are in the marketplace. And there are some high value, reputable ones that are in the marketplace that are building and continuing to build those supply lines. So.
Well, there's one that I like called Quicksilver, and they have a nanotechnology, a delivery system. They are run by a doctor, a scientist called his name is Dr. Shade, Chris Shade. And I've found that, I think it's like 250 milligrams, though, and you take 4 pumps under your tongue, sublingual, and hold it there for about a minute and then swallow. And that's it. That's all you have to do in a day. Do it in the morning, or some people like it at night because another benefit of CBD is the calming effect that it has, and people have claimed that it really has changed their sleep patterns. Joel, I think you actually told me that it had helped you. Is that true? I don't know if
Yeah, I take it in the evening.
You take it in the evening, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. I take it in the morning, but it keeps me very energetic. So maybe I'm just, like you said, there's one size does not fit all, right? So every body is different.
Yeah.
So
people at Charlotte's Web also produce a very good product. It's high quality.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, Charlotte's Web. I've heard that they're very good.
And
So
another good one is Bluebird Botanicals.
from
Is a good
Colorado,
brand. Yes,
Blueberry, right?
they grow all their own product. It's all organic, third party verification.
Uh-huh.
So, high
Okay.
quality product too. Yeah.
And what do you have a favorite one, William?
As I said, I've been using your Quicksilver line,
Yeah.
um, which has worked well for me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. I think you tried them. Well, so we're going to run out of time, and I always like to ask our guests, what is it that you want the viewers to take away? In other words, what a value, and I call it the silver bullet, but what a value is, if you had one thing to say, I want the viewers to learn today, what would that be?
That the CBD industry hemp industry is like any other business. You want to deal with people you can trust. And that's the hardest part in the business because it's a gray market business that's moving into legitimacy. And so there are a lot of not necessarily reputable players in the marketplace still. And so it's like every other sector. It's a fast growth sector. It attracts a lot of people who are in it for the quick buck and some are in for the long haul. And you really want to get involved with people who are there to stay and are not going away and can be relied upon.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Joe? What do you want people to take away?
Similar. I think everybody's hearing so much about CBD and the benefits, and benefits are real, and it just takes a little bit of knowledge and to learn about which product to use. And if you get a good product from a reputable company, it's going to have a really good effect for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
and I think one more thing I might add is that we've spent more than our team, Joel and others have spent more than a year on the ground with boots on the ground in Oregon, walking farms, meeting people, checking out supply chains top to bottom to try to figure out who one can work with and why you should work with them. And we consult others in the industry and that's one of the key issues is that you have to find people that you can work with. Mm-hmm. And those relationships don't get built from an office in New York City or somewhere else in the country. You really have to go and get on the ground and whatever market you're in, you have to meet with people face to face and figure out who you can work with and what benefits they bring to your supply chain.
Well, and also the reality of how many entrepreneurial businesses, as you said earlier, William, do not succeed and the reasons why. And here in one company, in Sun IQ, we have two very successful senior executives and a team beneath them that is supporting so much of what they're doing, which William didn't really and Joel didn't really get into today. We didn't have time, but there is a depth to this organization as well as a breadth. And the other part of it is that not only are these two successful entrepreneurs, but they're boots on, as Bill said, they're boots on the ground. They're getting their hands dirty. They're not afraid to create something from the grassroots, no pun intended, but they are doing this with their true grit. And as they said earlier, the tenacity to never give up. So I always like to ask the other side of the question is how can we help you as viewers who are interested in giving back, viewers who are very much about fulfilling their fullest potential and finding the best version of themselves and in life. And so granted, we know that CBD is going to add value to the health side of people's existence if they choose to so embrace it. But what can we do for you is the other side of our question. And so is it possible for you to just address that for a moment? What would you like our viewers to do for you?
Send money. No.
Well, that's pretty straightforward.
What do you say?
He said send money.
Whatever entrepreneurs need, we always need that. No, in reality, what I would be happy to do with anybody who wants to do
Yeah.
this.
Well,
If you're
you know,
pursuing this arena and need to call us or
is there a
encourage-
minimum? Is there a minimum investment that if you had an individual versus a institutional investor that was wanting to be a part of this and invest with you, do you have a minimum?
Yeah, we're working with sophisticated investors, so it's. I'm not trying to raise capital in this call.
No, no. I was being
What
facetious.
I was being playful.
I know.
What I think, but if people do want information or are in the space, we're happy to talk to them, advise them what we've learned, some of what we've learned, some of the pitfalls that we found in the industry, and anybody who is, a serious investor would be happy to talk.
Well, and there may
They can
be
see our website, whatnot online. So.
well, yeah, there may be joint venture partners that are listening too. People who potentially have something to offer on the value added other than the capital, but they want
Yeah.
to be a part of the growth.
Yeah. As I say, we're always interested in industry partners that we can work with that are here for the long term and are high quality.
Okay.
Offer high quality partnerships.
However, if a venture capitalist or an institutional investor or a corporation has an M&A group, that would not be out of the question for them to contact you and let you know of their interest in being a part of Sun IQ, correct?
Yeah, we'd be happy to chat with you.
All right, very good. Well, I'm afraid we've run out of time, but this has been very interesting. And I think, again, what we've learned today is that one word that keeps coming over and over again about businesses that succeed over businesses that do not. And that one word begins with a T. It's called tenacity. And so you two have certainly exemplified that in your respective careers and now currently in a company that I believe is going to be a huge success in a new industry that is emerging but growing so rapidly, and that is the hemp and CBD business. So thank you very much for being with us today, and we wish you the very best of luck in creating this successful business.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Well, we love to endorse new products, new industries, and of course, the people behind those products and industries are essential to who we are as Ageless and Timeless, and our vision of looking at the successes and the failures of people who can help us to learn and grow vicariously by their experiences and sharing with us. So watch out for Sun IQ. This is a company that you're going to see more and more of. I think these two guys are going to do it, and it takes a lot of true grit, as I said, but they're not giving up, and they're going to find success. So we thank them for joining us today. If you have any questions and you want to reach them, either Joel or William, their contact info will be on my agelessandtimeless.com website. Thank you so much for joining us today. Bye-bye.